What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast, joined as always by the Senator Phil Perry. And we don't even do emergency pods when Tom Brady comes out of retirement anymore because we all knew it was coming. Ladies and gentlemen, last night, Phil said, hey, does it look like Brady's saying one more to Cristiano Ronaldo? And I said, what are you talking about? Phil shows me. It did look like he was saying one more. And then Phil goes, never mind. He's back in the text chain. Unbelievable, huh?
It's wild. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? It's completely believable. He's left the door open from day one since he announced his quote unquote retirement. And I know you have some insight, which the listeners would love to hear on the decision-making process for Brady. But this just felt like, for weeks, Tom, going back to Indy, even though Bruce Arians tells me, oh, when I talked to him, the door was shut. It was slammed shut on him coming back. And then he says, I don't think he's coming back, but if he does, he's playing for us and nobody else. Like that part of it felt like more closely aligned with the truth than the door slammed shut of retirement. Of course, Tommy, the way we spoke, he's retired. Okay. I don't know why I just went into like my George W. there, but that's a little bit, that's sort of the vibe I got from Bruce Arians.
Retired. You're going to retire. The intel I got speaking to folks in the Brady camp was that, hey, you got 40 days. He retired. It was in part giving a reply, and that was his inclination at the time to retire. And giving that reply then helped to take the scrutiny off. But certainly, as we can all look back and realize, he spent that time still wrestling with the decision and trying to figure out what exactly he wanted to do. He decides to come back. I asked someone close to him, does he feel at all kind of silly or embarrassed by the whole process, unretiring? He goes, everything's been said about him over 23 years in the NFL at this point. He doesn't care. It's pretty much he's bulletproof in terms of outside criticism. So in the end, I just wrote a little Brady column, and Phil, like you said, he said to Cristiano Ronaldo, one more. And who among us has not said, all right, one more? I mean, who among us has not gotten out to the parking lot and said to ourselves, people are going to go ape shit if I walk back in there. I'm back, one more. Hey! And, he's a big boy. He's going to get home safely. And even though, as Bo Schembechler once said, nothing good ever happens after midnight, and Brady's out way past midnight, he needs that closure. And I don't begrudge him it. I think it's for people who have Brady fatigue, they're all set with it. But the people with Brady fatigue are missing the point that it's about them. It's about their memory. Dan Shaughnessy's been writing for 35 years in the Globe about Willie Mays staggering around the outfield for the Mets in 1972. And that's because Dan's memory of Willie Mays was sullied by him sucking. But it was about Willie Mays. Willie Mays played because he wanted to play. Whether Tom Brady sucks or not, it's not going to put a stain on his legacy. He's already outpaced people by 5 miles in this race. He deserves to find the closure he wants to. If he wants to go back in and have one more round and he just sits there sipping it, melancholy and maudlin, and everybody files out of the bar at the end, kind of quiet, so what? At least he got the closure he wanted. What do you think?
Well, the reason the Mays comparison is an interesting one is because Brady's completely on the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to his ability to play the game. And that's why, to me, this decision to come back makes much more sense than his initial decision to retire. He was the MVP of the league last year, in my opinion. I know he didn't win it, but he was. And for him to still be so good and to see the images of him this past weekend, watching Cristiano Ronaldo in Manchester United and sitting in the stands and thinking to himself, I would assume this isn't my place. He even mentioned it in the unretirement announcement on Twitter. I realized my place isn't in the stands. He had to have felt that way. The crowd's going crazy for one of the best in the world. And he's looking down at that guy after scoring 3 goals. And he's saying to himself, why am I up here, or why will I be up here when the NFL season starts? I'm him in my sport. I'm maybe better than him in my sport. These people should be cheering for me. The fans should be cheering for me. I shouldn't be part of this crowd yet. So that to me is why I wasn't surprised at all, and why for weeks, a lot of us, I think, assumed that a return was likely. Tom, I also look at this too, and I do wonder, do you think he wanted to return to Tampa? Do you think he was in England meeting with the Glazers to try to smooth something out so that the situation could play out maybe a little bit differently?
I think that the Tom Brady of 2022 is far different than the Tom Brady of early 2020. When he was, believe it or not, was the period of time we were still covering him, maybe a little bit more naive and didn't really grab and seize the entire script the way he could, and the narrative the way he could. Look, the way they tried to stuff back in the tube the toothpaste of the dysfunction here in New England over the past, 5-6 months, everything was fine. Everything was fine. It was, media made a lot out of it. That's not true. And Brady never really tried to do that when he was here, but he tried to alter it when he got out. And then, of course, he has this goodbye and retirement announcement, doesn't mention the Patriots, which just fuels that, okay, there was an issue. So to me, we're going to hear an awful lot. This is a way of backing into the point that we're going to hear a ton about how he was good with the Glazers and he was good with Arians and everything was fine. And this was just took a little process and some time to sort out exactly what he wanted to do and do it away from the glare of the spotlight. But Phil, you're exactly right. I mean, when you have Bruce Arians talking to you at the combine in the vein that he did, that Tom Brady is retired and it's not coming back, sounds pretty committed to me. It seems as if there was a lot going on behind the scenes in which Brady might have been trying to extract himself from the Bucs if it could work, while still keeping it polite, above board. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making enemies here, but I'm wondering, do we want to keep going here or not? Because I'll try and go someplace else. What do you think of that?
It feels to me like there had to have been something along those lines happening, because if he was so unsure about retirement, was he getting pressure from the Bucs? I mean, I know, it sounds like you're saying the initial retirement was to take some of the public scrutiny off, but was there pressure from the team to make a decision?
Yeah.
So that they could make their plans.
And then Jason Light's saying, we'll leave the light on for him, which he said during the last 40 days. So
that would indicate maybe there wasn't. Maybe they said, hey, Tom, do whatever you want to do. But if you decide you want to come back, just let us know right before free agency starts so we can keep some of your guys. Like, I wonder if the meeting, this is purely speculative now, but I wonder if the meeting with the Glazers is to go there and say, hey, can we work something out? And if it's not, hey, can we work something out where maybe you could send me, for instance, back home to San Francisco? I can play in front of my parents one more year. I think that would make me really happy, make my family really happy. And if they say no to that, hey, Tom, if you're going to play for us. Does Brady then counter with, okay, well, you have to make it worth my while. You're the owner. We know the salary cap is the salary cap, and that thing can be all kinds of manipulated. But in order to keep people around, the owner has to be willing to spend real cash. Mm-hmm. So are you willing to go to the lengths that I need you to make it worth my while to come back? And maybe he gets some assurances there during that weekend in London that, yeah, we're going to spend, team's going to be good next year. Come back, play for us, be happy, and we'll try to win one more. That's how I could kind of see this going down.
How orchestrated do you think this might be? Obviously, the documentary that's going on still in the last episode hasn't been released. Brady, again, is an industry unto himself that he wasn't really 2 years ago. Obviously involves crypto and NFTs and the number of different things. I mean, could that be at play? The Brady off-field interests and leveraging those to the hilt. See, that's what I said when he was retiring. And there was speculation at the end of the year. I didn't think he would retire because I thought there was too much promise to maximizing his other business interests over the course of a long, slow goodbye. I really thought that would be a driving force for him. Look, I'm not going to just dive into retirement, fall over and say, what am I doing today? What do my businesses look like? He would ramp them up in a certain way. And again, speculative, but if you're going to go see the Glazers, multi-billionaires, and you have interest the way Brady has shown he has interest in so many different new and different ways of making money. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but I mean, how many companies can he seed and promote over the course of the next 18 months? It's nuts.
$1 billion.
Platform will never be bigger than this year coming.
This feels like it will be the goodbye tour, right? And everybody's going to have a chance to give him. What did Odell Beckham give him years ago? Didn't he give him goat skin cleats or something?
Yes,
something very strange. They'll all have their opportunity to give him something on the way out the door, and the T-shirts will be sold, and the cryptocurrency will be sold, and the NFTs
Brady brand.
Brady brand. The $900 pair of sweatpants will be sold. I look at it and I say, Tom, too, it sounded like, and this might have been because he planned on coming back all along, but I remember reading an interview that he did at one of these off-season golf tournaments. It was actually happening during the combine. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he was asked, how retirement was going. And he said something to the effect of, well, I've been playing a lot of golf and spent time with my family. And so it's been about 5 weeks of that now.
Yeah.
Weirdly timing it. And, I'll see my parents and I'll play some more golf. And yeah, it's going great. And I just read that and I said, boy, does he sound bored. And he's still so good. How is he not coming back?
Yeah. And it's funny too, because that was a Fred Couples interview. And he said, look, I'm going to stay with my parents. I'm going to sleep in my own bed over there on Tortola Drive. And you wonder, was there any irons in the fire? I mean, I don't care. I can recklessly speculate at this point. I mean, was he out there to try and talk to the San Francisco 49ers at all and try and figure something out about getting to the Niners? Was it even conceivable? Did he want to sit down with Tom Sr. and Galen and talk about, how do you guys feel about my return? All of those things would probably have to have been covered in the last 40 days before Brady made his decision to come back. But, in the end, however you feel about his off-field interests, his social media presence, his leveraging his celebrity and greatness to advance brands of his own, the bottom line is what he did for the first 20 years buys him all the latitude that and we all view it differently. He has all the latitude to do whatever he wants. Is he an attention whore at this point in a way that I didn't anticipate him being? A little bit. Is he angling in a way that I didn't anticipate him to advance his brand in a way that I didn't foresee? Yeah. But maybe I should have foreseen it, because as determined and competitive and mindful of being number one as he was in football, as he dismounts into private life, why would he attack that any differently? Prepare, outflank, outmaneuver, and dominate there. Still, I think it's about football in the end. And as he bellies up to the bar, Phil, can the Bucs be a Super Bowl? Should they be considered a Super Bowl contender here? I mean, we haven't gone too deep on their particular situation because, we've been Patriot focused, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think they certainly should be.
They keep Godwin, right?
Keep Godwin, Evans. Keep Evans.
Jensen just came back.
Yep, they just brought back Jensen. Now they do have some holes along the offensive line. Both guards, one retired, one's a free agent. Marpet retired and Cap is a free agent. But
some of these guys are coming out of retirement, I hear, though.
You can find guards.
In general.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. Tampa reporters have already dialed up Marpet and said, so coming back? He said, no, I'm good. Thanks. Yes. And Tom, look at that division. Now, it could be altered quite significantly here. Who knows, the next 24 hours, a little bit more than that. If Deshaun Watson ends up in New Orleans or Carolina, the picture changes. But the NFC, who are the contenders right now? It feels like all the quarterback powers in the AFC. You've got Rodgers and Green Bay. Of course, they'll be right there. You've got LA with a lot of their team coming back. And you've got Tampa. To me, it's a 3-horse race in that conference right now. And so, yes, they're going to be right in the mix. And again, I would assume, again, after just having met the owner, where they were maybe looking at blowing this thing up to a degree just a few days ago, if Brady wasn't coming back. Now that he's back, you've got to extend yourselves one more year and move money around and pay guys and make sure that you're right near the top of the heap when the season starts here on paper, talent-wise.
All right. Well, there's our focus on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Nobody's surprised. We are surprised that he's back with the Bucs because I felt that he was going to leverage his way out of there and he would be open to all offers that could get him out of there. But Brady is back. So that's it. There's your Brady pod. Wasn't an emergency pod, but it is a standalone pod. How's that? We're going to hit you with free agency talk in a separate. Coming up. So click over and listen to the free agent pod.